Loud, and we are live. So, anyways, guys, there's a couple things I want to talk about today. It is, yesterday was fairly interesting. It was probably one of the most busy days that I feel like I've had in a while. And when you get busy, sometimes it's easy to drop your guard down and then start to take on bad habits that normally you wouldn't take on, right? Or, you know, when you feel like you're doing, if somebody's on mute, you gotta, here, I just muted you, Dave. All right, so if you're not on mute, I muted Dave and Lamar, so if you're not on mute, mute yourself so that way we don't have any background noise. Um, but again, sometimes we literally show up to work every day and we're doing our best and we get in the midst of action and we get situational awareness. And it came clear to me this morning that listening to our group that, I had a little situational awareness because I'm used to everything that's in my surroundings. And, if something interrupts my surroundings and it comes into my area that I'm not used to having there, then sometimes I fight it. And because we become, I think, as people, so used to habits, right? So used to the way that we do things on a day-to-day basis that it drives us crazy when something new comes into it, or we fight it, or it takes us longer to adapt to it, right? That's why, in any type of learning, they say it's 21 days to create a new habit. That's actually not true. It's 21 days to get started on a new habit. It's 6 months to make it last, right? You can stick with something for 6 months. It's going to be stuck in your head and you're not going to lose it. So in order for, like they say, an amateur practice to get it right, a professional practice, you can't get it wrong. It's more than just a saying, right? It's a cute saying. I realized even yesterday, I said, elephants don't bite, mosquitoes do. And JC finally looked at me and she goes, what the hell does that actually mean? And I'm like, wow. I said, you don't know what that means? She goes, no. I said, I've said it 8,000 times. Why are you just asking me now? So you've been with me all 2 years, right? So I had to explain to her, it's not the big things that create problems. I said, it's the small things, right? For instance, if we're out measuring a whole house of windows and we sell 50 windows, but we miss one, that could screw our whole commission up, right? So again, it's not the elephant that bit us. It's the mosquito that was hidden behind a dresser or something like that we didn't catch that bit us, right? Same thing in business. It might be we run a really good business, but the day we forget to make one phone call might be the day that basically something blows up in our face and we get a bad social media, right? So again, it's not the wholeality of it. It's those little things that bite. And I started thinking about it, yesterday I had a training with a certain rep, and we were going through, delivering investments, like monthly investments, and talking about delivering the price. And I, realized that, consistently you got to be working on this stuff. If not, you get rusty or you move away from the very things that made us successful in the very beginning. So when I was looking at basically going through it, and I was using a lot of analogies that I haven't used in a little while because as I role play, it makes me sharper and keeps me on point. And so yourself, being new to this in the program, and maybe not new to the industry, but new to the program and like things that go on. When I say new to the program is it's less than 2 years, right? We've all been doing this. There ain't a person in here that's got this mastered, not a single one. And what I mean by that's not to be rude. I think some of us are doing really well, but no one's got it mastered. Each time we go over something, you still pick up something we used to do that you've moved away from that you imply back again, right? And the cool thing is none of this stuff is ever brand new. It's all basically, all stolen and borrowed and everything from everybody else, which is how we create the best of the best is how we create our system here, right? So again, in the nature of, the business itself is, we go at things that are convenient. When we get our situational awareness, and I was sharing with this rep that, I used to, when I first got in the industry, I did things the way they taught me to do it. Then I tried to find a way shortcuts. Then I felt like I was doing the right or wrong thing for the customer. I started putting the customer before myself, which is sometimes the right thing to do. But what I kept doing is I would always want to take the price from the list price down to the lowest price I could give them within a few dollars of exactly what we call green line, or back in the day it was called par. And then I would want to sell at that price. And what I realized is when I did that, it was me that was doing it. Because as I showed that rep yesterday, the difference between the bottom dollar you go and what the bottom dollar on the iPad is sometimes only a couple $100. And really, that couple $100 could be the difference of a staining you missed. It could make the difference if you got to go back and go back and basically ask for another window, right? So instead of going back at 16 or $1,800, now I'm going back at, if I got $600, now I'm going back at 1,200, which is easier to swallow than 18, right? And really, when you look at numbers, there's things that are called hard numbers and soft numbers when you're dealing with investments, right? And hard numbers is something like a 1, a 3, a 7. Which you think of those numbers and you think about division, it's hard to conceptualize. You really got to put on paper to start dividing those numbers out if really you're going to run into it, right? If you do something and you're going to lower the price and it's not lower than a 5, so you're going from a 9 and then that last denominator is a 7, it ain't making a damn difference in the world, right? But again, if I'm at, let's say, 34,746, and I discount it down to my full bottom green line, it goes from 34,746 down to 34,123. Well, guess what? If they were going to buy at 34,746 or at 123, they're going to buy at 34,736. There's not a damn thing that's going to happen. The only thing you did is you took all the cushion out of your way because you felt like you were doing the best thing for your customer. But what happened is, if I came through and I gave you the initial investment or the 1 year price, the coupon price, and the basically cost savings program all at once, now I've left myself with nowhere to go. Now I have to be a really good closer, a super good closer that's going to help me basically justify my whole reason of existence off of that last price. And a lot of us, I tell you what, I've listened and role played with a lot of you aren't that good where you can do it. I'm not even that good where if you put the last price on me and I don't get all objections out before I give that last one away, they basically think I'm going to walk out of the business more times than not. What you do is you're handcuffing yourself and you're losing 20% of the business you could because the people that want to work you for a better deal, AKA Asian, AKA Indian, AKA some of the different, basic mentalities that are taught to negotiate from a young age. I said, you're screwing yourself, right? Even basically that old salesman that wants to know he worked you and got you for everything. If you go down to the very bottom dollar, then it leaves you in a position where you have to do this, right? Well, I know if I call you back in 3 days, you're going to give me that same price. And what are you going to say? No, I'm not going to. You better damn well be bet I'm not going to. Well, because remember, if you give something and take it away, it makes you the bad guy. You just became high pressure. But again, if I give something to get it back in return, that's way different. So once I realized in my mind that that's not really that big of a deal. Now, I will tell you it's a big deal if it's 30, if you're at 30 basically 143 or $30,143, right? In the bad words, just so you can conceptualize and grab the thing. And then I show a price that's for 29,743 or 29,743 because the big difference is the 3 turned into a 2, right? So the 3, which is a main denominator, turns into a 2. That makes a big difference in their mind. But again, I want to fight at the 3 and then reward them with the 2 once I get them to commit. It's that and nothing else. So you have to basically have your head wrapped around this, that the last 3 numbers barely matter. So if it's 34,943 or 34,431, they're not going to freaking buy the difference of $500-600. That's not going to cost you the job. If you think that, you got the wrong frame of thinking and you're in your own situational awareness, which means you think you're better than you are. Okay. So again, we have to be good because a lot of us are really good at what we do. Right. And I agree that we have the best team assembled on the face of the earth. I feel that'd put us against anyone. But the problem is sometimes we beat ourselves because we make rookie mistakes because we overthink it. We think we're doing the best thing for the customer in turn where we're putting ourselves in a handicapped position where we got nowhere to go. And if you're doing that currently, I'm asking you, come back in for training. Stop doing that because you're hurting yourself. You think you might be doing a good thing, but you're not. You really need to basically learn and master the system, even if you put it in your own words, right? Another rep I was talking to the other day was we were laughing because we were doing the presentation. They're talking about the 3 prices they give up that they talk about in the very beginning of it, and they just did it a way that came out their way, right? And people are like, "Oh my God, that's so great!" It was the script. It was a script down to the T, but basically he made it his own. So when you look at that stuff, remember, part of the script is basically the script gives you the basic foundation. That's the standards of mediocrity. But when you make it your own, That's really where it sings and dances and becomes effective, right? Just like an actor, if I give you the script and you come out here and you got one shot to make the act to be part of the program, you better damn well give that script and you better own it and make it you, and your personality better come out inside that, or you're not going to get the part. The role is not yours because you were boring. Even though you said the words, it's good, but how you react that and the way you own that thing is everything, right? That's part of the elephants don't bite, mosquitoes do, right? I could say the words, which is the elephant, but the mosquito is if I don't have inflection and I don't make it mine and make it believable to where I believe it, I can't believe what somebody else says, right? I can't believe it till I take ownership and conviction in why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? And again, if I'm fighting on price and price only, that's not a good thing to do. And remember, your job, and I was explaining this rep yesterday, and I stopped them 4 or 5 times through because I believe if you let somebody roll through it wrong, they're creating a bad habit. And a bad habit takes longer to lose than a good habit. You know, it'll take 21 days of repetitious change to change a bad habit. Not saying that you think you got it because you said it right 1 or 2 times and you think you're going to go in the house and master it. No, when things get tricky, we go on autopilot. And when autopilot happens, unfortunately, you know, we have a reticular activation system in our brain, which is our Google that funnels out to it, right? And fear is a bigger motivator than gain. So if we run into a situation where a customer is giving us a hard time, or it's not a standardized like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like presentation, where we're going through the steps that way, then we get thrown off our game. And we get thrown off your game, instincts kick in. It's why I do that thing in training where we talk about the red and we put our arm out and I ask you a question and tell you to keep your arm up. And I take these 2 fingers and I take your arm down because, again, you can't fight me and answer a question at the same time. Just like you can't recite new information. You can't recite new information and expect to basically be as valuable and as sharp as nails on that new information you're trying to accomplish unless you practice till you can't get it wrong. And sometimes that takes 6 months to master. So it was evident to me. We were going through the price presentation with this rep, and it's a good rep, but basically the price presentation coming into it had so many little mosquitoes that those mosquitoes all added up to one big elephant, right? Because sometimes we think price impressioning, you know, is a big part of it. We're setting them up for the end so they don't fall over dead. But remember, if you drop list price and they commit list price is a good value and they don't kick you out of the house, man, if you don't get that order, you're missing something. You're missing something big, right? So again, there's ways to do that. So we have to make sure that we're selling that process, right? And when they give us any feedback, we take them back to that moment in the process of the reason why it's costing so much money, right? They've been dealing with it for 8 years, and they've been letting their house fall apart for 8 years or neglecting their maintenance for 8 years. And you know, the people before them have probably neglected it too. So that problem might not just be 8 years old. It might be 16 or 30 years old on top of the current one they're dealing with. Is it really your fault? Is it really your fault what the situation is going to be, right? Or why it costs what it costs? Is that really your fault? No. They called you in to design it. And to go back to that $600 overage or $1,000 overage you have in there, realize designers come in. See this crap behind me? Designers come in and they design stuff, right? And they come in there and they write down the designs and give you the furniture design and the picture designs and the paint colors and the frame colors and all this stuff they tie together. And sometimes they make 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 grand just to come in there and design a room or basically a house or a project, right? And they get paid all this money to do so, whether they didn't sell anything. They didn't sell a table, they didn't sell a chair, they didn't sell basically picture frame, they didn't sell art, they didn't sell anything but an idea and a concept. Think about that. You're going into a house and you're finding out all the pain points. You're finding out the reasons why it failed in the first place, the fundamental reasons on why you're there, the reasons why they neglected and what it caused to it, the reason why certain frames can't be used. You're educating them on the entire industry. You're talking about all the things that accomplish and what we're going to do to change those things and educating them to the point where they've never had that kind of education before. And at the end of it, if you tell me you're not worth $700 or $1,000 extra on top of what the investment is, after you spent all that time designing it to protect the fee for service you have, you're crazy. You're worth every freaking penny of it. And I believe in you. And if you don't believe in yourself, you believe you got to take it down the bottom dollar, you got something missing up here because you're in your own situational awareness, which is not a good place to be. There's nothing more fun than going out and selling a project and not selling it for the right dollar figure where you think you can expect to make this money, but nothing comes in because you missed something. And it's so stupid and so small, but the customer either won't pay it or you don't want to go back or you're scared to go back, or by the time you're able to go back, it's too late. Why even put yourself in that position, right? So one of the things about today taught me is, don't blame. Figure out what you could have done different, right? If I blame and say, oh, frickin' Scott, man, the damn project manager, oh, the customer this, customer that, is it really that, or is it because we might have missed something that we should have taken a little more time to discover? We might have notated or wrote something down different. We must have built more value into it, right? We must have left a little money in the job to protect our ass if there was something. Excuse my vulgar language, but you know how I work, right? Those words get your attention, which is why I like it. Keeps you coming back, right? But the purpose is we want to make sure we're bringing that value statement inside of there. I hope that makes sense because it's gigantic. So before, again, we look externally, let's look internally first, right? Remember when I first started, all you guys go through training with me? I tell you, there's one thing you can never be, and that's sales fault. If it's a sales fault, that means I'm not doing my job, which is a bad reflection on me, which is a bad reflection on you guys, right? Because I take responsibility for everything you do. So if you basically jack something inside the house, I'm the one that has to hear about it. And I don't bring that stuff to you a lot of the time because I don't want it to get in between your ears, but I want you to correct and fix it because, again, your job is to protect the company, protect yourself, and protect the customer, right? But again, you got to protect yourself first because that's how you pay your bills, take care of your family. Then you protect the company because that's who pays your bills, so you can take care of your family. And then you protect the customer, making sure they get and understand everything that's going to happen outside their house, right? So there should be never a time we don't think about that stuff. So again, when we're wrapping into that list price, there's a lot of crap that goes into that, right? You think you guys that don't like the structural engineering charge, if you ever took the amount of time to run a project on your own, from basically the time of fruition, getting it through basically HOA, taking it to the basically building departments, getting your permits, working with the architect, working with the engineer, and how much time it takes just to go through one of those processes, it's a disaster. You would not be able to go out and run the amount of appointments you had to if you had to manage that project from beginning to end like you would on a commercial project. You wouldn't be able to focus on it because 2 of those, 3 of those jobs would steal all of your time. You'd have no time left to do anything else. So it is a convenience that we offer that. Yes, is it more expensive than they can probably go buy on their own? Yes. But you number one, make a fee for service on it. If you don't want to make a fee for service, we could do as a walkthrough. But number 2, realize there's a cost to basically managing a project and babysitting that baby all the way through it, right? Having a W-2 employee doing that, not a subcontractor, basically trying to follow that when he has time. Why do you think our industry is notorious for lack of meeting expectations, right? Either number one, it's not set up in the beginning, the middle's not explained, or basically the end comes out as a disaster. So there's multiple different things that run into place. It's a hard industry to make people happy, right? You're dealing with their single largest and most valuable investment they've ever made, which is their house. Some people might have bigger, but for most people, that is the biggest and largest investment they ever make in life, especially in California. Think about it. The average median home cost is over $500,000, right? $500,000, and that's not getting you anything here, right? To get in the decent houses, you're $800,000 to $1 million, right? And by the time you make an $800 to $1 million mortgage payment, man, that's freaking, you better be damn well be prepared to put anywhere between $6,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 a month out of your paycheck to go take care of that investment. So if you don't think they're going to be protected over that, hell yes, they're going to. And guess what? Because they pay such a big payment, they're price conscious. So that's going to talk into my next talking point, okay? So after we justify and validate the reasons on why our investment, what our investment is, so John and Mary, obviously, you didn't call us out to pay list price, but let's go ahead and share with you. I think you're going to love what they got to share with you, right? To take care of the problems you called me out today, which was the cracks in the stucco, the frames, the unperforming water management system, the way we have to protect the paper, the special dream style reflash that we're doing outside your house. Not to mention, we talked about the heat coming on the outside, which is why we had to use the basically Duracast framing on through there. Not to mention, we talked about the weather stripping, the way we're doing the weather stripping to make sure we don't let the air come in. So again, your furnace isn't going on and off. The way the glass pack's put in there, that 90% argon, 10% nitrogen fill, so we don't have to go in there and worry about turning our air conditioner up and down because it's never going to make a difference to the outside. The way we have to finish the stucco on the outside, mess with the drywall, all the different things that we got to do to make sure this project comes into place. There's a lot more than you expected, right? And you called me out because of a couple reasons. And we also, and you want to list those couple reasons. And we also found this on the inspection, right? So obviously it's going to be more than you expected, but can you see why we hold the value of only $34,376 is a good value to take care of all those things on your house that have been put off for at least the last 8 years, if not the last 16 to 20 years, that we've needed to get this project taken care of. Can you see how we hold that $34,176 is a good value to take care of the project in your home? And the key at that point is to shut your mouth for a second, right? You're not asking them to pay it because they know it's list price, but you need to let that resonate for a second. If you're one of those people that says, yeah, but we're not asking you to pay that because no, you're not giving it time to sink in. Even though you're saying it, that's not the right way to do it. You're not giving it time to sink in. You got to let it get into here. If it's not into here, there's no purpose even saying. You might as well say $34,746, which is the real price you're paying. So we're gonna give you a discount, which is a fake ass discount at $8,000, and then we're gonna give it to you for basically $26,436. And that's gonna, and basically, how would you like to pay for that? Would you like to pay cash? How would you like to do that? Or we can do 12 months, no interest, no payments for you. Fuck, you just fucked that up. You might have had a massive presentation, but that's an elephant you forgot at the end of it. And if you just blast through that stuff really quick, you're not doing yourself any favor, right? Why would you take an hour and a half to 2 hours to do a presentation and then spend 10 minutes at a close? There's no purpose of that. You just wasted your whole time and your whole being sitting there. So again, take your time. Once you get that out of there, ask them. Let me ask, can you see the value on why that's what we hold the value of your project to take care of everything on your house? And if they tell you, no, it's more money we expected to spend, we're not paying that. We're not asking you to pay it, but there's a lot more work than you expect to see in here today too, right? Obviously, if we didn't have to fix the frames because they were warped, if we didn't have to fix basically the stucco on the outside, if we didn't have to put in a Duracast frame because you didn't take so long to get in through there, if there were things we didn't have to address, which is the water management system and protecting the paper and everything back behind there, we'd be cheaper. But you said that's not what you wanted to do when it came time, right? You said you needed it all fixed. So again, we're not asking you to pay it, but you can see the value, right? Yes. You've got to do that. I know, so with some of you, it's uncomfortable because you don't like confrontation or you want to get that quick yes. But I'm telling you, if you don't stall here for a second, you're not going to basically do good when you do your next drop. Because the next drop is designed to be the only drop you make before the last drop. So when I take that down and they tell me, yeah, we can see it, but we're not paying it, that's okay. If they tell you we're not paying it, it's okay, but we're not paying it, that's okay. You just got the commitment you needed that at least they see why it costs what it costs, right? You got to make them understand that list price is a real thing. And in windows, price is irrelevant. You can find windows from $200 a window off the shelf on these crappy little things you come in and nail to the outside on a dollhouse. And you can find them up to $3,000, $4,000 a piece for a basic window, depending on where you go. So price is irrelevant. It's all around. It's in the perception of value. If the perceived value is not there, then yes, you're way too much money because you did a shitty inspection. You didn't explain the difference in the company, how we're running our project management, all that stuff, right? So again, they could tell you, yeah, but we don't know if we need that type of product. Well, let me ask you, John and Mary. I'm going to come off this for a second before we talk about how to explain the discount, because we got to get good at that. Because if I don't sell the next discount, then I'm not doing a good job. But think about it. Somebody's giving you an analogy that they want to go with vinyl, and you're trying to push Duracast or, basically EndurGuard, aka basically Architect Series. I think the tricky words help basically make people think you're unique and different. I think that's part of being a good salesperson, is how do you make yourself unique and different? So talk about the things that no one else is talking about, right? So think about it. If somebody knocked on your door today, and I see there's an iPhone on your table, right? So if you got that iPhone on your table, let me ask you, how often do you use your iPhone a day? I'll use it a lot. So let me ask you, if you didn't have that or you left it at home, how bad would you miss it? I'd miss it a lot, right? That iPhone wasn't cheap, was it? No, I mean, still paying a monthly payment every month for it. Okay. So cool. So you're rolling into your basically bill. Yeah, we just roll it into our bill every month. Okay. So pretty much until that thing's paid off, by the time it's paid off, you're going to have to turn around and buy another one. Is that correct? Yeah. When the new model comes out? Absolutely. So what you'll tell me in probably about 4 or 5 years, that thing's going to be irrelevant. Is that correct? Well, let me give you a little analogy that might make sense to you. Because if somebody knocked on your house today, you remember back in the day, they didn't have cell phones. They didn't have cell phones like that, right? When I grew up, there was pagers, or basically like when they came out with the flip phone or the Zach Morris phone, like that car phone, it was a big deal. If you had somebody knock on your door today and they knocked on the door, opened it up, and they handed you a pager and put it in your hand and told you that they were going to give you that thing free of charge and pay you $15 a month to use it, would you even be interested? Probably not, right? I'd laugh them off the porch. But why would we laugh them off the porch when that used to be so relevant, right? Because again, that technology is outdated and it's no longer relevant, right? So if you're going to put old, outdated technology inside your house, it's no longer relevant. It doesn't matter how much the cost is or how little they're charging or what it is, because it's not relevant to the situation. A pager is irrelevant in today's market. We don't need a pager. We got timers on our phone. We've got different apps that do everything for us, right? So again, if somebody knocks on the door and they offer you a pager, you'd laugh in their face. Well, don't you kind of think our industry is evolving? Think about it, right? Vinyl started to come out in the 1970s, 1975 to be exact, right? Is when vinyl actually hit the market. 1959, it came into fruition, but it really didn't hit the market till the mid 70s. So when it hit the 70s, right, you take some of this 1975 technology that's really had little to no differences put inside of it. Isn't that really like the pager of our industry? So if you think about when you're going against and people are talking about price sensitive stuff, or they're telling you they can get it half the price or cheaper somewhere else, let me ask you, is the technology they're trying to offer them irrelevant, similar like a pager? Why would you go out and spend basically $800 to over $1,000 for an apparatus when somebody would pay you $15 a month for it? Because if it's not relevant to the situation and condition and environment you need that to operate in your life, it's a waste of money, right? Sometimes you got to use analogies, guys. It makes sense, right? When I give you that analogy about the pager, is there anybody on this call that would accept a pager $15 a month if you had to give up your phone? I think the answer is no, because we become so dependent on these little things that become part of our lives. And it's something we can't live without nowadays. It's an operating computer. It's an apparatus. It's a part of our life now. Without it, we're lost, right? So again, that pager being irrelevant, even though it used to be the most relevant thing on the market, and now it's the cheapest thing you can ever get. As a matter of fact, good luck even finding one. Same thing as the flip phones, right? Soon flip phones are going to be irrelevant. The car phones, like the Zach Morris phones from back at Saved by the Bell, those things are irrelevant, right? So you look at how times change and industry change. If you go back and try to put 1975 technology in 2019, do you think that sounds like a great idea? Because by the time you live in that house 5 or 10 more years, that stuff's going to be so irrelevant, they might stop making parts to fix it. So we deal with some of these cheap, basic, inefficient windows out through here because it's a cheap price. What's the likelihood they're going to be around in 5 years, 10 years to take care of that as service or stop making parts? All you got to do is read warranties. They tell you if they stop making parts to fix that line of window, then they have the opportunity to send you a part that's the closest match to it, and they can't guarantee the color, styles, anything will even match, but they will send you out that replacement part for free. But guess what? You got to pay somebody to put it on. So if you don't take this whole thing in the wholeality of it, it's not the elephant that bites. So it's not the $5,000 price tag you do. It's what happens when it gets put in your house and no one's there to take care of you, right? If no one's there to take care of you, I mean, I'm sure you've had a time where maybe you got cable and you're trying to watch the big game or some program that came on and your cable's out and you call and that game was so important and you waited all week to watch that game or that program and then your cable goes out and you try to call the cable company, but guess what? Every other mother effer on the planet is calling the cable company too because that game's out. And no one's there to fix you and no one's there to take your call and you're staying on hold for an hour, hour and a half. And then you do get somebody, you realize you called the wrong prompt and they gotta refer you to somebody else. Then you stay on hold for another 30 minutes. Then you can't get a hold of them either. And they prompt you, then you basically hang up and you try to dial another number to see if you can get in there faster. That's not good customer service. You don't want to feel that same way when you got your windows leaking because water's coming in because your lock's not working, or you're shifting, or basically the old frame's leaking inside, and now you got no one to talk to you. So you call the manufacturer because the company went out of business like 96% of all of them do. Now I call Anlin or whatever the hell the names are of these little crappy companies. And I'm saying, hey, Anlin, I need you to come out and take care of me because my windows are leaking and your freaking windows are a piece of crap. I was like, sir, we got to send a third-party agent out there to take care of it. When they send that third-party agent out there to take care of it, next thing you know, they're only out there for one reason and one reason only, to validate improper installation. Because if you didn't follow the written installation instructions validated by the manufacturer, that you do not have a warranty on that, no matter what you say or what you do. A manufacturer puts a warranty in place to protect themselves, not the customer. They are in it for assets, not liabilities. An asset is something you bring in, you turn into money. A liability is something you pay out. Manufacturers do not make money by paying out liabilities. They admit they did something wrong, which sets them up for a lawsuit. And they're never going to admit that. So again, you are a little tiny ant in the mass of a major manufacturing facility that does not have your back. Think about that. That's why you need advocates like Dream Style Remodeling that work directly with the factory, that have that true factory direct solution, which is going to manufacture, deliver, install under all pretenses of the manufacturer's requirements. Not only that, but put it on steroids with our Dream Style Reflash, knowing that there's not a better fix out there. Listen, if you don't have that kind of conviction when you roll price and you didn't do that good of a job going into it, then you probably don't deserve the business. And there's a reason why you're going to give it away. But if I built up that need, that urgency, and gave that credibility to the point where I just showed you and just did for you, you're going to fight like a dog at the end of that thing because you're the only and the right solution for them. So let's talk about that discount now. Because again, that list price, building value in that mother effer, is your job. That's what we pay you to do. If not, I could put myself on a television screen and do a better job. Not being a prick, but I'm just that good. That's how much confidence I have in myself, because I know I can talk about the product, I can talk about the service, I can talk about the guarantee, I can talk about the company presentation and have more enthusiasm and excitement than most anybody, because that's how much I believe in me, because I'm the one that represents the company. You should say the same thing about you. Remember, it's a you factor. It's what you put in the presentation. Because if you aren't on point and you aren't doing what you need to be doing, they are not buying from you. And you are the company when you walk in that. So whether you're successful or not, no matter what the condition or situation, guess who failed? It's you. All you can ask is for a name, a homeowner, and a time to meet them, and enough time to basically present or set them up for another visit if you don't have enough time to present, right? As long as you have all the boxes are checked, they're giving you 60 to 90 minutes. Both homeowners are there, all decision makers are there. And basically they own their house and have a will and a need eventually someday to do windows. That's on you to be the advocate to help them understand on why they need it. If they already understood why they needed it, then you'd be an order taker, so go work for Window World. Then you make basically $7 a window every time you go out and sell a window, which means you got to sell a shitload of windows to make a living, especially in Southern California. So the price is irrelevant. The value needs to be built, because without value, price is everything. So when we look at this next thing, right? So now after we gave our speech in our presentation, our protection point on why we're building the value in that investment, now we got to sell the discount. If you just brush over the discount and just say, oh, we're going to save you, Dream Style saving, local savings is 25% off, which is going to save you, $9,346 on the project. Oh, you got to get excited. You got to make it feel like, oh my God, this is, you couldn't have picked to call us at a better time. Wow, the discount we have here is amazing, guys. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't taken it away yet, because normally this is the best one I've seen since I've worked here for the last, 5-6 years, or last little bit of the entire time I've been in the industry. I haven't seen these type of savings. It's amazing. So again, we actually still have our anniversary sale, which actually came out a little early, supposed to be next month. So I'm crazy thinking about this thing. Let me explain to you what benefits you just came into. So again, 25% off is what we're able to save you. So again, that would be like buy one, get one 50% off. That's 25% off. And the best thing is that's better than get one 50% off, because they're always going to take the most expensive one and give you the cheapest one for 50% off. It's not a true 25% across the board. So what I'm going to do is one up here. And you wouldn't be mad at me if I helped you, right? So this 25% off, which isn't even advertised to the public yet, I'm able to give this to you. If I could do that, that makes a big difference, right? So again, let me show you what that does for you. It saves you a total of $9,326 out the project, right? That's gigantic. That's a big savings, right? That's taking the whole project down to only, now here's the trick. Here's the trick. Because I got to sell that thing, taking it down to only, $29,436, or what more of our savvy customers do. See how I breeze over it? You don't want to stop and make it a big fucking deal at the 29 grand, excuse my language. Don't talk about that fucking price. And what I mean by that is you don't want to have that happen, because if so, they're gravitating towards that. That's what they're paying attention to. That's where their eyes get locked on. And now the payment becomes irrelevant because you did such a good job selling the discount and that next price. That price needs to be rolled right past on the base of the payment. Repeat that. That price needs to be rolled right past back down to the payment. I made a hell of a living once I figured out that it's not about the price, it's about the payment. That's when your living starts, when you realize that price doesn't matter, right? How many people walk into a car shop, unless you're a freaking whale, right? Walk in a car shop and they're going to buy a Mercedes or a BMW, and basically you're looking at that thing. If you paid cash for that thing, you'd be an idiot. Because again, if you don't lease it or look at basically alternative ways to get your costs down through there, you're going to eat all that depreciation and you're going to be upside down the day one you set out onto it, right? But if you lease it, at least basically you know that somebody else is eating that appreciation over the next 5 years. Or basically if you buy it right, maybe a pre-owned that has been immaculately taken care of, then somebody else ate your appreciation. But again, cars aren't a good investment. They're a depreciating asset that 10 years from now, you're getting maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20% of what you paid for it, right? It's not even a good analogy, but think about how you buy cars, right? When they come in there, they lay the payment down on the table, get you not to focus on the price at all. They're like, well, how's that $1,000 fit in the budget? Well, it doesn't. They want you to say no on the first one, because then they can negotiate with a lower payment. If they negotiate and came with their best payment first, it'd be too easy for you to say no. They're throwing that big ass payment out right through there because they want you to squiggle in your pants because they want to look like the hero at the end of it, right? So again, think about that. How is that relevant? People don't pay cash for all the remodeling projects. Remember, if you think they're paying cash and you sell that payment right there, $29,436, John and Mary, or would you like to take advantage of 12 months, no interest, no payments, because I'm scared to talk about a little bit of interest? No. Or even zero interest 36 months. No, that's wrong. Completely wrong. What happens is, remember, 65% of all the business we do here is finance. That means you are selling, if you're selling that way, you're selling to basically, 35% of our industry. 35% of the customers are all you're selling to. And if you only convert 30% to 35% of what we do, that means you've got it in the teens closing percentage. So you're doing something wrong. So again, if you're selling to 35% of our customer base because you're trying to sell that price and not that payment, then again, if you close 30% of those, you're closing in the teens, if not the low 20s. So think about that, right? Look at where you're at in your position. Do you have situational awareness where you don't even realize what you're doing and not just click something on? That's my job, is to make those little lights click on so you start realizing where we're doing things wrong. We haven't role played this in a while, so I want to make sure I'm talking about it. So next, after you get that down there, you want to breeze over. So that's $29,746, or what our savvy customers do. They'll either take advantage of a 12 months, no interest, no payment program, or they open an account at 60 months at basically $543 a month. Let me ask you, how does that $543 a month fit in the budget? That's how it should be done every single time. Even if they tell you they're paying cash, remember, they're paying cash when you first came in. And they told you they don't finance anything. I guarantee they finance their house. Guarantee they probably lease their cars. Guarantee there's things that they pay a monthly payment for, right? Like braces, different things of that nature. There's a lot of things that people pay payments for. They just don't realize they actually do. And a basic windows in a house is one of the largest investments other than the house that you can do. Because remember, it makes up basically anywhere between 45 to 60% of the outside walls. I mean, look at this wall here. How much of that thing is a window, right? So if I costed out that wall, how much of the cost of this wall would be that window? So if you think about that thing in revolution to what they have going on in their house, people need to finance that. It's stupid to pay that money out because you pay it out, and even though you might be paying interest if you make a payment, You pay that out, you're never making a dollar on that money again. So you just cashed out an asset that's making you money, and you're never going to have that money again to fall back on if there is a problem. Whether you're using somebody else's money to help you basically take care of that, right? So again, how does that 543 fit in the budget? And you want them to tell you, well, Dustin, it doesn't fit in the budget. That's just too much money. I can't afford that. That's where we get that. And at this point, even if you ask, is there anything besides price or payments going to keep us from moving forward today, which you should do before we did all that stuff, then you might hear, you know what, I got to get, we got to get 2 other estimates. Okay. Which is bullshit for meaning it's just not affordable yet. And you just need to take it back to the money. Or, you know what, you're the first person out. We appreciate everything you've done, but, you know, can you send us that estimate? That's them tapping out because they can't afford the payment. They don't want to admit they can't afford the payment. You know, we never make snap decisions. If that comes in after you ask anything besides price or payment, then it's a bullshit objection. Then you got to basically realize that they can't afford the payment's money. Then the word never might have an indication that you need to do something different, but they tell you they don't make snap decisions. It means they can't afford that payment. So you need to dive that down. Remember, after I tell you that, it sounds like to me, John and Mary, I don't think it's, we talked about the company, the product, the warranty, and everything that had to be accomplished on the house, right? And we didn't understand why the value is what the value was. Come on, be honest with me. The 543 is just a little more money you can expect to spend, right? Were you thinking more like what, 450, 475? What were you thinking? You want to get a number now. Well, I don't really know. Well, if you did know, what would it be? It'd probably be about 200. Woo! You want that installed, don't you? I'm just kidding. But reality, man, 200, woo, you're making my job really hard, right? But let me ask you a question. If I had to been at 200 today, is that what it would take to earn your business? Yes or no? Then I can at least know why, right? Well, how come? If I was at 200, would that be 100% comfortable for you? Yes. So if I could get it to 200, could we go ahead and get your project started today? Yes. Well, thank you. If I can do that, let me go ahead and take a look. Now we take our iPad back to us, right? Let me ask you a question. You said you've been thinking about doing this project for X amount of years. Remember, we found that question out right when we walked in the door. Beautiful house, all you owned it for 8 years. Boy, let me ask you, what kept you doing the projects? What kept you from getting the project done so far? Well, it's been time and money. Okay. So if money's the big issue, things must be better now. Yeah, things are better now. Great. That means they probably saved up a little bit of money, right? So at this point, now fast forward back to where we're at. Let me ask you guys, you said you've been thinking about this for 5 years and things were a little bit better now. Obviously, it's not that good. You didn't expect to pay what you're paying today. It needed the investment you're seeing today. But let me ask you, how much did you set aside to put towards the project? Were you thinking $2-3 grand? Were you thinking 1,000, 500? What were you thinking? I'm throwing numbers out there because I want them to bite onto something. If I don't say a number and I'm just waiting for them to throw something back at me, then they might lowball me. They might not know where to go. They might throw a number I want to hear. But if I give them a range of numbers, they can bite onto one of those. And the purpose of they bite onto one, now I'm getting them closer to a decision. I think we could definitely afford 500. Let me ask you, if you were to put 500 down, that's not going to take clothing out the back or food off the table. It's not going to put you in financial stress. No. Are you sure? Yes. Good. So I'm going to enter that 500, right? If they tell me like 5 grand, I might put in like 3,500 or 3 grand. Because again, I want to leave a little cushion and let it look like I'm looking out for their best interest. If I just put 5 grand in there, then they might say 5 grand, but they really mean 3 grand is really they're comfortable because they want a little bit to hold back onto for a rainy day, right? You don't know if that's the 5 grand they have for the rest of their life. You don't know. So again, think about that because your job is to be their advocate, right? If you really care about your customer, if you really truly care about your customer, you're going to help them make it affordable because you just did your job on sharing why you're the best solution, right? So again, that 3 grand that I put inside there, that $500, let's just go back to the $500 and say that's all they can afford. I'm going to enter that $500 in where it says deposit up on the very top of that screen. So on my price impression page, I'm going to close it down. I'm going to enter that 500, and then I'm going to tap on both of those initial visit savings. Because really, I got one shot. I can't discount and then come back and discount again because then I look like a liar, right? I lose credibility once I discount and discount again. If I do 2 more discounts after the main discount, it looks like I'm playing games and they're going to call me a used car salesman. So I got one shot. There's a reason why I don't want you to discount I don't want you to discount till you find out what the true objection is. And if it is about money and only about money, then we can go back down the next step. Because guess what? If you're naive enough to think they're going to call you back and pay 10% more when they can pay 10% less today, don't lie to yourself, because you're being nice out of the house. Don't lie to yourself. And if you are one of those people that have both homeowners there and you tell them you're going to come back in 3 days, I don't even have words to say for you. I'm going to leave that one alone because you just got lied out of the house. Okay. They're not calling you back. They're calling to get another estimate to validate to see if you're the right thing. And if they do call you back and you do give it, then they're going to blast you on the internet and say, hey, this customer, Dustin, I met with the representative, Dustin, and Dustin said that he wouldn't give me that discount. But I tell you what, if you grind them and go get another estimate, you call back, they'll give you that discount. That's the last stupid freaking thing we want on the internet. So stick to your guns. Conviction, belief, right? You can't go back and give them that price because you set us up for a social media nightmare. Everybody's got to be treated equal, right? And the best time to make an educated decision when all the facts are in front of them. So now that I'm back down to my last one, I've touched both buttons on the bottom of it, right? I touched that cost savings program, and I touched the one below it. So I got a total of 10% savings. Now, be careful. If they're thinking there's military or basically you got a $500 discount or some other bullshit, you need to find that out right now. You don't have another chance once you lay down this price to come back and start renegotiating again. You might have a couple $100 leeway, but you want to make it feel like when you drop that next investment, there ain't nothing else. You gave away the farm. You one more dollar, you're sacrificing your fee for service, right? You're going to be splitting that fee for service with them if basically you come out of it. You won't be able to feed your family. Right? If they're going to force you to give a little bit of that more money up, you're really going to be weak and go down to green line. Then you got to figure out basically this. If you have to do it to get the deal, I understand every once in a great while we need to do that, but you need to get something in return. If I'm going to do this for you, here's what I expect in return, right? I need 4 referrals at time of installation. I need you to accept up to 3 phone calls, potential customers. I need a before and after yard sign in there for 30 days in the fall and the spring for the next 2 years. I need these things done or I'm not going to give that back to you. Because at this point, I don't need your business. I value it. The only thing I'm going to make is hopefully if I make bonus, I'll make it up on bonus. But again, if I'm doing this for you so I can feed my family, what do you give me in return? You got to have that conviction so they believe you. That's what this whole thing is about, belief and conviction, right? You're acting. It's what we do, right? So you got to make sure we're doing those right things. A lot of times it's not acting, it's the truth. Because you have to do this with customers to psychologically get their asses out the fence. If not, they're gonna clap onto it and they're gonna realize, it's not that bad, babe. We've been dealing with it for 15 years, and if we deal over a couple more years, not that big of a deal, right? So if we got to it in 2-3 years from now, not a big deal. Well, dummies, right? If you did 2 windows a year for the next 3 years, you'd already have 6-year windows done. And now instead of putting off the 12 windows you were gonna do or 15 windows you were gonna do, at least 6 of the 15 would be done. Now we're talking about 8. And we're talking about crazy inflation, right? So you got to get that in your head. Stalling and wasting time on not making a decision is costing them more money. What about the utility bill they're freaking paying, right? If it's $400, SDG&E says a 28% gas hike, right? So that $400 just turned into $518, right? So it's $518 now, and you're paying the same exact thing. Each year, that $118 is going to cost you almost $2,000 more to do exactly what you had today. How does that make you feel knowing you're going to use the same amount of energy, live the same lifestyle, but you're paying over $1,000 more just to heat and cool your house every year, right? If not more, you get an $800 bill. Think about what that 28% is doing to it. It's raising that up to a point which is going to make their lives uncomfortable. And if they don't do something to combat the energy company, I'm not talking about solar, because guess what? There's all kinds of hidden tricks in solar and adding stuff to your mortgage and all kinds of liens and stuff that are put on the house. You can afford that. When realistically, the same thing's going to happen in a couple of years, right? All that technology is going to be irrelevant. And if you still haven't addressed the fundamental reasons on why your house is uncomfortable, which is the windows, and you're trying to put something in as a big-ass Band-Aid on the top of the roof that's ugly, number one. Number two, you might be paying paying less energy bill, but you're making it up in the payment you pay back on your mortgage. It's not really a win. It's a win-lose. Because if you can't pay that, then guess what? Then that energy company owns your mortgage. So think about those things, right? It's not really that good of a deal if you really think about it. Take the amount of monthly payment they have, less what their current monthly payment is for the utilities. Are they really making out that much better? Okay. Not for a long term, because eventually one of those solar panels are going to go down. And if it goes down, what's the cost of replacement of a solar panel, right? What's the cost of replacement if a glass pack goes bad? If there's no argon gas, no insulating in the wall, basically, just like there's no insulation in the window, how good would your walls insulate? Even if you had solar, would that correct the problem? No. If you had glass in your window that wasn't doing what it needed to be doing, it was allowing all that energy to leave and all that heat to come in, or is it going to change your comfort level inside the house? No. You're just changing the energy grid. Sure, your payment's lower, but you're still uncomfortable as hell. Your rooms are still unusable. You got all these things that are coming through it. So if you don't buy your ass head around basically all this stuff that comes into play that you can go and sell against, you're not doing everything you can do. So again, get down there at the end of it. What could you afford a month, right? So if you know it's 200, I'm putting on both 10%, I'm putting on that 10%, so the 5% cost savings, the extra 5%, and then when I'm ready to roll, I better come all guns a-blazing, right? There's no playing games from here. So again, I need to go back down to my 120 months, whatever I got to do to get that payment as close to it as possible, or I need to be talking to them or have a starter package set up, because if I'm trying to go all or nothing, and I don't have a backup plan, I'm not setting myself up for success. I should know by now, if they don't do the whole package, what would be the windows they start with, so at least I can mark my territory. I mark my territory, I can go back and get more later, and I set myself up for an arc. If not, I'm all or nothing, which is stupid. You at least got to take care of the fundamental reasons and the main reasons they called you out there for, not let it all go all or nothing. That's just dumb. You're wasting the company's money, wasting your money, and you're wasting the customer's time. Now they just spent 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours of their time investing into you, listening to your bullshit, taking it all the way down, asking you how to afford it because they didn't kick you out at list price, and that you didn't set them up for success because you didn't set up a starter package, right? So again, that's neglect. We can't neglect our customers. We got to get into it. So again, when I roll that back around, even if I'm at 218 or 240 a month and I'm not at 200, and say after I drop that initial visit savings and it drops off, say I'm at 24 and it drops it down to 22, and I'm at $220 a month or $230 a month at my basic 6.99 for 120. I need to sell the difference of $40 or $20 or $30, whatever that might be. So when I put that around, congratulations. First thing you say is not, does that work for you? Congratulations, guys. I'm sure that's going to work for you, right? We're not going to let a little thing like $20 come between the windows you want and deserve, right? And then shake their hand. And remember, if you isolated it before you drop that down, so that sounds like that's it, nothing else, right? Is that it, nothing else? That's a gigantic deal. There's nothing else besides that payment that's keeping you from moving forward. And setting yourself up for that next basically step is crucial, because you shouldn't have to fight your butt off in a close. What I kind of did systematically is setting you up, right? If you have somebody that you feel like nothing's wrong with the windows, well, what about the energy loss through the window, right? Glass and aluminum are two of the best conductors known to man, right? Selling that payment, utilizing the 36 months no interest. By the way, if they call on the 36 months no interest, take it on a notepad next to it. And take that notepad and write 36 months and put the payment down and slide that at them and tell them, guys, it's not even on my computer because we don't offer it. This is what a special program this is. They're not even entering on the computer because we don't know how long it's going to last. So if you don't take advantage of that now, it's not going to be here. I mean, let's face it, tomorrow, there's no guarantee you're going to have that program. So if you don't go sell like a dog and call everybody back and make sure that everybody's doing what they need to be doing, and you're pushing that program like it's got the point of no return, you're not going to find a better discount, a better time frame to buy, a better basic financing program right now than you're ever going to find at this exact moment. Prices are going to do nothing but go up. Think about it. They're not building new real estate in San Diego. It's not a boom. There's not a boom. The real estate here, one of the reasons the cost is so high, sunshine tax, and they would rather build a bunch of condos in the same area that would fit hundreds and thousands of people rather than building one house where one family occupies it, right? So the housing's not being built up. Developments and communities are being built up because they realize that they can make more money on those communities than they would the houses. So your housing inventory is very low, which drives the market price up, meaning sure that those properties aren't moving. Now, when you're talking about gaining, 82 to 80% cost return on their money, you're going to get every dime about it as long as you put the right thing in. If you put something that's in an eyesore because it's a cheap price, you're not getting your money back, right? So think about that return on investment. How much money are they paying? If you did your energy audit and you showed how much money they're paying over the next 15 years, and it's something like 60, 80,000, 90,000, $100,000, and you take 20, 25% off of that because you got them to commit that during the glass presentation, you show that off, not to mention what the resale value is, not including any maintenance savings that you're talking about you would or would not have. All that stuff added up, subtract what they pay, is their true investment. What you'll find a lot of times, people returning back on a window project over the course of the next basically 15 years, they're returning back 12 to 18% on their money. Tell me another investment you can go out and buy on the market right now that's returning 12 to 18%. If you do, you better have all your money in that thing because that doesn't come around very often. Most time you're returning out a savings account, 0% to maybe if you found the greatest deal in the world, 3 or 4%, right? And maybe that's a money market account, but you got to keep a minimum balance in for, right? So when you look at that aspect, this is a big investment. It's a major investment. And why would you want to dispose cash not knowing what the outcome is going to come? Why not use somebody else's money to help you fund this project, especially if there's no penalty for early payoff? So if you truly feel like you can go get a bigger deal somewhere else, where no, we can extend that term and not change the interest rate, go try to do that at your bank. Go try to go get a personal loan through your bank and see what happens, right? So again, you got so many arsenal and so many things that can happen from what you're looking at. You got to use your tools. And number one, don't sell the freaking price, sell the payment. That payment, I promise you, I've made a hell of a career and a hell of a lot of money selling a payment, not a price. Prices are relevant until they tell you the payment's not affordable. And the payment's not affordable, they wouldn't consider paying the payment, and they're only going at the price. Now you got a different negotiation to deal with, but you're still doing the same thing. If the 21,436 isn't affordable for you, what would be more affordable, like 19.7, you know, 19.5? What do you think? Figure a number you know you can get to and throw that out as a starting and an ending point and see where they go. I'd probably do my ending point a little higher where you can actually go. So that way you can fish and try to get them to commit to a number. But that's the whole purpose. We've got to get them to commit to a number because then they're going to take ownership of it. If you say, well, what do you think you'd do for it? Well, I'd probably do $5,000. Well, duh, you didn't set them up right. So they set you up for failure. But if I'm at 21, I say, what were you thinking? More like, 20, 25, 25 or 20,500, 19.3, 19.5. What do you think? Then basically what happens is they're going to latch onto one of those numbers. If they do, they're taking ownership of that. Then you know how close you're going to get. And they say, well, we can afford $19,000. Well, then what do we talk about that? Let's go back to the payment. Or let's start at a starter package. Guys, we have to become master of our trade. Get out of your own way. Situational awareness will kill you if you allow it. Don't allow yourself to be sucked into a funnel that you can't control. Use your tools. Create your analogies. Make sure you're basically following the process and the program, at least on the pricing side of it. I promise you, what I'm delivering for you, it works. If it didn't work, trust me, I was sharing to that guy, I paid more dumb tax than anybody in this room probably combined. I've learned the wrong ways to do it, the right ways to do it, the ways that don't work. I've tested and tweaked, engaged, and figured out what works and what doesn't work. I've sold 7.99, 9.99% interest. And I tell you that at the end of the day, that price is the payment is what matters. Okay? Some people aren't going to pay that, but guess what? It's unsecured. So you got to go at that. Secondly, if you got a program like 0% for 36 months, what a perfect time to set somebody up in a starter package, right? What a perfect time. Use your analogies like we shared with before, like a pager and a cell phone, whatever it might be. Paper plates and plastic forks, whatever it might be. Those aren't permanent. You throw them away all the time, right? But basically, if you bought China, that same thing you might pay more money for eventually is going to end up costing less than the paper plates and the plastic forks because how much you're going to keep using. Same thing as doing the same project. Most expensive thing you can do is buy the wrong project from the wrong company and pay for it twice. So with that said, I'm kind of done blabbing, but I hope you get the point of where I'm going. I gave a pretty big explanation on taking you through the price presentation on why it's irrelevant, why it's so important to do what we're doing. Remember, elephants don't bite, mosquitoes do. And if your price impression's an elephant right now, or your basically price delivery is an elephant, it's the one thing, if you don't do it, that's why they call it putting for dough. It's not drive for show. That's the whole presentation, putting for dough. This is logical. This is a logical explanation that you still put a little emotion into, right? You got to validate your discounts. You got to isolate your objections. You got to identify that's it and nothing else before moving on. And if you give them all away out the start, the only thing you're going to battle with is your own commission and giving stuff away because you didn't do a good enough job doing that before you made your last drop. Okay? If you made your last drop before you basically talked about is that it, nothing else, then the only way you can do is give product away or try to hide things in your pricing that's not going to work anymore. So you have to make sure we're focusing on what we control, what we not control. You're the designer, build your value. You're the designer, build your value. Hopefully you got a good talking points. This whole thing's recorded. So I'm going to send it out so you will have this whole thing to go back and watch and tweak yourself and learn and make sure you're following the program, down to and making it your own. Like we talked about in the very beginning, the initial visit presentation or basically the cost savings program, whatever you want to call it. If you haven't mastered that, that's embarrassing. We've had that for a long time. You got to master that. You got to make it your own. This whole presentation is about taking it and being you inside of it. If you lose you in the presentation, you're worthless. If you lose you in the inspection, you're worthless. If you lose you in basically in the product presentation, you're worthless. They buy you and you own. All right, before we end, any questions or anything from anything we went over, guys? Sorry to blab and take so much time, but I feel pretty passionate about what we just went over. Anything? Bueller? Anybody? All right.
I like it.
What's that?
I liked it.
Awesome. Thank you.
I don't feel like you blasted us out of the water.
I don't think it was blasting out of the water. I think it's intent to help is what it is.
There you go. I like it.
It's basically if I do give you something you take into the day that makes you better today, that's what I want. My whole job is to make sure you make more money than you ever did or mother F me in the bank, right? All right. With that said, guys, have an awesome day. Remember, today is the last day of the month. If you're basically not where you want to be, do something to make it happen today. Even if you got a light day or things going on, get on the phone, figure it out. Let your customers know that 36 months gone tomorrow. Figure out something that's going to make it happen, right? Tomorrow starts our anniversary sale, but I have no clue what that advertisement is going to be till I have it emailed over today. So again, don't count on tomorrow. Make it happen today. Use your tools, get your commitments, present investment like you've never presented it before. And again, we'll see you on the board. Have a great day, guys.
Woo.